All right. Let's get started today. We're stepping into 221B Baker Street, for a deep dive into those lessons we can take away from Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson.
Yeah, what makes them so interesting even now is how much their partnership can teach us, like, timeless wisdom. It's almost like their creator, like,
Yeah.
put in these hidden layers.
Okay, so let's start with the mind of Sherlock Holmes. Everyone knows he was great at observation, but there's more to it than solving crimes. It's about mindfulness. You remember that scene in A Scandal in Bohemia where he instantly knows Watson's morning routine just by looking at him?
Right.
That's paying attention. Think about that in your own life. Imagine what you could learn if you were better at observing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Holmes's methods show that observation isn't just passive, it's the basis for analysis. His deductive reasoning, that ability to connect things that seem unrelated, gives us a way to make decisions even in our own
So
lives.
it's not just noticing things, it's about figuring out what they mean.
Yeah.
We live with too much information, but are we really processing it? Holmes shows us how to go deeper than the surface, to analyze, to think critically.
Exactly. And today, with so many distractions, how can we focus? Like Holmes, he could block out everything when he needed to focus on a case, almost like a mental flow state. What if we could do that in our own work?
Yeah, and what's inspiring about Holmes is he wasn't just a genius. He was always learning, growing, adding to what he knew. Think about how much he knew about things like chemistry, anatomy, even plants. That dedication to always learning is something we can all do. It's about being curious, asking questions, wanting to learn no matter how old you are or what you already know.
And it's interesting that even with how smart he was, Holmes still had setbacks. He made mistakes. But his resilience, his ability to come back from those, is a big lesson for all of us.
Yeah, it's like he shows his grit. He never let failure stop him, which is a good reminder when we face our own challenges. But there's another side to Holmes that people talk about, his lack of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
We know empathy is important, but is there a reason to be objective?
Yeah, that's the complex part. We don't want to encourage people to be cold. But Holmes's detachment let him see things clearly without emotions getting in the way. Think about it. Have you ever made a choice when you were emotional that you regretted later? Maybe a little bit of Holmes's objectivity could be good, especially when things are stressful.
It makes you think about how finding that balance between our head and our heart is the key. But enough about the mind. Let's talk about the heart of the duo, Dr. Watson. What about him makes him the perfect opposite to Holmes?
Well, his loyalty to Holmes, no matter what was happening, is a reminder of how important it is to be trustworthy. Watson was the good friend, the one Holmes could talk to, the one who always supported him in a world that feels selfish. His loyalty is refreshing, you know?
Totally. And it wasn't just blind loyalty.
What?
Watson brought empathy and compassion to them.
Hmm.
He was the one who connected with people, emotionally understood what they wanted and what they were worried about, while Holmes was figuring out clues. Watson was figuring out emotions. That emotional intelligence, that ability to connect is what makes him different.
And it's remarkable how Watson, even though he was a man of science and logic himself, never tried to make Holmes's strange ways seem less important. He accepted their differences, adapted to their partnership, and became a crucial part of the team. His journey from being an outsider to being a trusted partner is inspiring, don't you think?
It is. It shows us how powerful it is to be adaptable. We often stay where we are comfortable. But Watson shows us that trying new things and learning from people who are different from us can help us grow a lot.
Exactly. And don't forget how grounded and practical Watson was. He brought a sense of reality to balance out Holmes's more abstract thinking. Remember that case with the dancing men?
Uh-huh.
Watson's skepticism, his need to test Holmes's ideas in real life, was really important to solving the mystery.
Right. He kept Holmes grounded, reminded him that even the smartest ideas have to be tested in real ways. It's like he was the voice of reason, making sure their ideas didn't get too far from reality.
And we can't forget how brave Watson was. He always faced danger, never backing down from the risks of their investigations. He may not have had Holmes's deduction skills, but he was brave, always ready to stand by his friend no matter how dangerous it was.
Like when he walked into that scary Baskerville Hall, knowing there might be a monster there that takes guts, it reminds us that being brave isn't about not being afraid. It's about choosing to act even when you are scared.
That's so true. So we've talked about Holmes's mind and Watson's heart, but what really makes their story great is how well they worked together. They weren't just two guys working next to each other, they were a team, each making the other better.
Yeah, it's like they say the whole was better than just the parts by themselves.
Yeah.
They were great, but together they were unstoppable. Their different skills and personalities made something special that let them face problems in different ways.
Right. It's a great example of how different views and skills can make a team better. And what's cool is that they didn't always agree. They challenged each other, debated, but they always respected each other. Yeah, they saw what each other was good at and respected each other's ideas even when they didn't agree. It's a good lesson about working together. You don't have to be the same to be a good team. In fact, those differences can help you find creative solutions and really understand the problem.
Makes you think about who you work with.
Hmm.
Do you have people around you who make you think differently, who bring something new to the group? That mix of ideas is so important for growing both as a person and at work.
Definitely. And behind that respect was trust. Watson trusted Holmes's decisions, even when Holmes's ways seemed strange, and Holmes trusted Watson's realistic view and constant support. That unspoken trust helped them talk to each other, work through disagreements, and reach their goals.
That trust is like the foundation of any good partnership. Without it, you're always doubting each other, wondering about motives, and ruining the teamwork. Holmes and Watson show us that when you have trust, even the hardest problems can be solved.
And don't forget the main theme of their partnership, that balance between logic and emotion. Holmes, the expert in deduction and reason, and Watson, the caring doctor, always showed us that we need both our head and our heart to deal with life's challenges. It's not about picking one, it's about finding a balance.
It's like they show the two sides of being human. We need both logic and emotion to make good choices, build relationships, and understand the world. And what's interesting is that they didn't just keep their own strengths, they learned from each other.
Right.
Holmes, by being with Watson, learned more about human feelings, while Watson got better at observing and thinking more critically.
It's amazing. It shows that even when we think we know everything, there's always more to learn from people, especially from people who are different from us. Their partnership shows us how powerful it is to be open-minded and how we can change by accepting different views.
It's like their story challenges us to try new things, be open to new ways of thinking, new ways to solve problems, new ways to see the world. But let's imagine for a minute, if Holmes and Watson were alive now, what mysteries do you think they'd be working on?
Ooh, that's a fun question. I think Holmes would love the digital world. I can see him learning all about cybercrime, following digital trails, and being smarter than hackers with his amazing deduction skills.
Totally. He'd probably be great at coding by now, making his own programs to solve those cyber mysteries. And imagine Watson in the world of social media, using his empathy and understanding of people to figure out online personalities and hidden reasons.
Yeah, I can see that, but it makes you wonder, wouldn't they have to learn new skills to keep up with our fast-changing world?
That's a great point. The world they knew was so different from our digital world. They'd have to learn how to deal with all the information, the complicated online groups, and the ethical problems of AI. But knowing how adaptable they were and how much they loved to learn, I'm sure they'd be able to do it.
They're probably teaching us how to deal with the digital age in a smart and careful way.
So what does all this mean for us, the regular people, dealing with the 21st century?
I think it comes down to this. The lessons we learned from Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson are still important today. They give us a plan for how to think better, work together better, and live better lives.
It's not just about solving mysteries. It's about learning those qualities. Observation, logic, empathy, resilience that help us become better thinkers, better partners, better people.
It's about using our own strength, seeing the value in different views, and finding that perfect spot where logic and emotion work together.
Yeah, it's like they gave us the tools to deal with life and be more aware, more insightful, maybe even a little brilliant.
And here's something to think about. If Holmes and Watson were here today, what mysteries would confuse them the most? Would it be how complicated people are, the ethics of AI, or maybe something so hard to understand that we don't even know about it yet?
Wow, good question. Makes you realize that mystery and discovery never really end well. Everyone, as you go through your own lives, remember the things we talked about today. Embrace your inner Sherlock, your inner Watson, and never forget how strong a good partnership can be.
Keep observing, keep asking questions, keep that thinking sharp, and never forget about connecting with other people.
Until next time, happy deep diving.